Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, forwards, mids, defenders, coaches, refs, and yes, even those of you outside, welcome to the longest running soccer show in St. Louis history, STL United Soccer Sunday. Presented by the Pasta House of St. Louis Tradition. Today's show brought to you by NGK Law Firm. Everybody's going to need a lawyer sometime. And joining us today, of course, are Ted Williams, our executive producer from New Zealand, St. Louis U, and the Tango Situation, Russell Blythe. The Pride of Brentwood, our expert on the game, Josh McGee, of course. Forgot I had to say your name. Introduce yourself. And me, Edmundo, your announcer and orchestra. Thanks for being with us.
Heyo.
One-man band. Just call me Skitch. And here is your host, Tom Schwartz.
Ed, I love that. I love that. That was great.
Just a special
Singing cowboy.
Yeah. Move over, Roy Rogers. Here I come.
It always reminds me of the line in Up on Cripple Creek. She had Spike. Me and my mate went back to the shack. We had Spike Jones on the box. She said, "I can't stand the way he sings, but I love to hear him talk." And that's kind of the reverse of you, because I can't stand to hear him talk.
Thank you, Tom. It's always a pleasure to be here at the wonderfully warm patio today.
Woo!
Oh,
Tom.
man, it's a heat advisory again today until 7.
And that's not just because you're out.
No, and it's, you know what they say, it's not the heat.
What do they say?
It's the humidity.
And who are they? Are they the same people who are telling me not to wear a mask?
No, these are scientists, Tom. These are our weather folks.
So, did you see the picture I put on our Facebook page?
I did see that. Kind of a sign of the times.
Yeah, I have no idea who it is, but it's some dude, holding up a science staff against the Grim Reaper. It's really cool.
I love it.
So what is the deal with people? Okay, raise your hand so we can turn the camera. Someone tell me how all of a sudden wearing a mask or not wearing a mask became a human right, or whatever it is. What are these? Russell Blythe.
A human right.
Well,
to not wear a mask.
What is it? Have you seen this stuff on? I mean, here we are on Facebook, right? The videos on Facebook of these people going berserk.
Oh,
because they're told the berserkers.
Yeah.
That's what the whole thing
That's
is.
what they are, berserkers. Are you talking about the video of the woman in Florida, for example?
Oh, for example.
There's a whole packed room of people in Utah at a school meeting, and
The
none of them have masks
people
on.
in Utah, you can't make us wear masks.
And they've worked themselves up into a frenzy of some kind.
Give them less Kool-Aid. That's what I.
Less Kool-Aid. I think that's the answer. Is less Kool-Aid. Sure.
I think that's your point. They're drinking the orange Kool-Aid.
Well, they're the big orange Kool-Aid.
That's what I mean.
Uh-oh, Ted, this is very good.
He's got an orange shirt on.
He's got an orange shirt on.
It's a
Yes,
coincidence.
sir. Yes, sir.
Our social skills are slowly atrophying.
Yeah,
Okay?
that's a good point.
And imagine, you two gentlemen, when you were in school, when we used to do duck and cover drills or more. Did you guys have any Cold War drills when you were in school?
Hey, dude, I can still remember being in grade school, going home for lunch during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Right.
I think, well, we go back. You walk home for lunch.
So that's my example. People had a spirit of community, nationalism, patriotism, personal nationalism, patriotism, that said, this is the right thing to do. Somewhere along the way, we've just lost our ability to consider that in the moment, it's the right thing to do.
Right.
Nobody's saying we're going to wear these forever.
We're not asking you to storm the beach at Normandy.
I mean,
We're asking you to put a mask on when you're inside in particular, yes, Josh.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, it comes down to two things, at least for me. I just feel like there's this mentality in our country of when someone tells you to do something, the first instinct is just to not do it. I think that goes for many of these other
That's a very
things,
good
but
point.
it applies to this in particular. Also, another thing is, it's like seeing is believing. If people don't see themselves or other people around them being affected by this virus, then they just think it's not a big deal and it doesn't apply to them. I mean, you can apply that same thing, unfortunately, to racism in this country. People
Without a doubt.
say, well, I don't see any racism around me, so why do you people think that there's a problem? And again,
That's a little point.
I know.
That is a
well,
very good
both
point.
those trains of thought are bad. And as far as the point that they're trying to make, and that you open with saying that, oh, it's our right to not wear a mask. Well, one of the bigger rights, I think, is everybody's right to life, which is in the Constitution. And in fact, that right is being infringed upon by not wearing a mask. You're
That's a
endangering
very
the people
good
around
point.
you. And I think that takes precedent over the fact that you just, it's an inconvenience, yes, but it's an inconvenience that if we all share in, the quicker we get out of it.
You know what?
It's a group mentality, like Ted said. We just have to come together, and you have to be empathetic and to your fellow man. And the sooner that we all get together on one page, the sooner we'll get out of this, and we'll get back to normal.
I don't know what celebrity or a highly thought upon person. I mean, in the beginning, we kind of all thought it was going to be Dr. Fauci, but as over time, it's like the politicization of his message eroded it. But somebody's got to make it cool to wear a mask. I don't know who it is, and make it really, really, really uncool not to.
Well, I would add that the economic argument is that the current economic situation that we find ourselves in is directly driven by the concern that people have for safety and health, and that's why the economy crimped down as it did this spring. If you want the economy to get back to where it was and get your jobs back, wear a mask. Because
Right. That's the only way.
The EU has a population that's roughly similar to the United States. It's a little larger. It's over 400 million, and we're 330 million. But the socioeconomic conditions there are very similar, making them a good analogy. They're basically back to baseline now. And we, a country that has 4.5% of the world's population, has 25% of the COVID-19 cases. That tells me, and it should tell everyone, that the course that we've followed in recent weeks to months isn't working.
Think about it. Think about it. Everybody was worried about, well, what's going to happen with Memorial Day and the holidays? Well, here it is.
There it is.
I mean, you look at the maps, and like they're all orange, you know. I'm going to react to two things you said, Josh. One, right to life. That's brilliant. And that ought to be what the maskers, those of us who believe in social distancing, etc., ought to propose to these folks. Okay, how are you? What's your position on right to life? Is it only for the unborn child that you're not going to care about after it's born? Or does it extend to me and your dad?
Actually, you should worry about the unborn child, because apparently you can transfer the virus to the unborn child.
I'm very worried about the unborn child because my daughter is about to give birth, and in London, so we're not going to see her, and it's killing Sally. But regardless, the other thing you said was empathy. There is zero empathy in some circles, and it's almost uncool to be empathetic. And to me, that is the antithesis to being a thinking human being. Is
Well, we have such a great example at the top.
Oh my God!
So, I mean,
You know
it's
what,
sort of
guys,
brought out
it's
the
kind-
worst in people.
It's counterintuitive to this culture that we talk about every week. The thing that I've come to love about soccer is its inclusion.
Right.
Yes.
I
Right.
mean, soccer's about inclusion. And, I've read some articles this week. There was one written about the women's soccer community and its inclusiveness. And people love it because it's so inclusive, and that the Twitter culture is not, it's snarky, but it is not a cancel culture, and it is not a culture that excludes. Here's an example. The 9th team that did not get to make the trip to Utah, Orlando. It's been rumored that some of the younger players went to a nightclub, and those were the gals that tested positive. Through a variety of forensic techniques using social media, one of them being Venmo. It's like,
Oh, wow.
your Venmo trail is out there.
Right.
Sure.
And that they were Venmoing at this club,
Wow.
okay, that they determined who it was. And in the beginning, people were like, oh, Russell, hey, Josh, you screwed up, blah, 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 blah. And then they're like, hey, they're young, they screwed up. And then they went to the opposite side and made this page where everybody kind of consoled them and said, hey, we know that you made a mistake, you're still on our club, and we look forward to next season.
Just-
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Stay in your room.
Yeah, it was like they all took a deep breath. It's like, whoa, 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 that's not us. What are we doing here?
Yeah,
I know
right,
we were all
right.
mad that our team didn't get to go.
I mean, just get away from that troll culture.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Amen.
it's one of the things I love about it. And I was snarky all weekend on Twitter, you know, just talking about different things that were just funny. You know, they're funny during
Stop
the match.
being a snark. Here's
Right.
here's my phrase for the week. I saw the data and changed my mind.
Well, that's a huge thing. The ability to actually sit back and change your mind.
And what are they criticizing Fauci on?
Being right.
So they say, oh
For
well,
being
he
quote
used to
unquote
be
wrong.
right.
But I mean,
Yeah.
he,
I saw the data. I changed my mind.
Exactly.
All right, Ed. Why are you playing your?
It's time, Tom, for the next segment here, buddy.
The next segment. What's that?
Next segment is the NGK sponsored segment on the EPL.
What do they say about lawyers?
What do they say about lawyers?
Well, one of the
Unlike
things that we
cops,
say,
they're always around.
not that part. No, the part about you never know when you're going to need. What's that phrase we made up that we can't remember?
Oh, you know, when you think, you wonder if you need a lawyer. You've needed one for about a week.
Yes.
So
Wake up.
wake up.
All right. With that, we're going to start talking about the English Premier League and our resident experts, I would say. Let's see if I can get both of you guys in there. Okay, cool. I can. Russell, if you just.
I'm
Oh,
gonna-
perfect.
Here we go.
Perfect.
I'm just
Okay.
going to scoot a little
All
bit
right.
this way.
Let's talk Premier League. Josh, start us out.
Yeah, so we're down to the last two game weeks. Game week 37 is kicking off here today, and we'll go through midweek through Wednesday, and then the last game day will be a week from today on Sunday. Everybody will be playing at 10 o'clock like the good old days. So we're down to the wire, and obviously there's still a lot to get to. I noticed that in the second half of the hour we're going to talk about the bottom of the table and what's going on with there, but right now
Hammer's looking good, baby.
it's looking good. At the top of the table, there's quite a bit of drama, and it started really once we went off the air last week. So at this point in time, and we'll get to a certain decision that we didn't get to on Sunday, that we'll probably talk about a little bit today. I'm sure people are upset about. But let's just say qualifying for the Champions League got a little bit harder. And right now, there are three teams competing for the final two spots. That would be Leicester City, Chelsea, and Manchester United. And started with Leicester last Sunday when they went to Bournemouth. They're struggling for relegation right now. They're in the zone. Had a lead. Didn't last very long, and then they compounded it. So they actually gave up their one-goal lead. It was 2-1. And as the ball was in the net for the second goal, Russell, one of the Leicester defenders kicked out and just kicked the Bournemouth player.
Unbelievable.
Straight red card. Just
Which
in
one
the
was it?
Soitu.
The guy with the long hair?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's been great for them this year. So it was a real uncharacteristic move by him just to lash out. So he had a straight red, compounded the mistakes already made by Schmeichel on the first goal and the defense on the second goal. They gave up two more and they lost 4-1. And just a brutal
Hammering.
self-collapse. That
Yeah,
once again,
can you think about, I guess maybe when Liverpool came back, in the from what were they down 3-0 in the
Barcelona in the
okay,
Champions League.
that kind of
Milan, yeah.
the
From
team.
Milan.
I've never really seen a team just collapse
Yeah.
Again,
on
it's
one
just
mistake.
real uncharacteristic by them. And remember, Chelsea had lost the previous day 3-0 to Sheffield. There was a real opportunity to move forward. So then the buck was passed to Manchester United on Monday.
You
And
didn't
a result
bring
that
out.
some people may have assumed was going to work out, it did. United
When
went
you
down
say some people,
and may have assumed that the match was going to be...
gee, I don't see any Manchester United stuff
Right.
around.
I did say that United was going to be in third. Now I'm not so confident.
Yeah, I was
But,
going to ask you.
They went down early, and then but were able to correct it very quickly because their offense is still fantastic regardless of what's going on. and were able to hold a 2-1 lead until very late. But what I noticed was Pogba went off early in the second half. Then Bruno Fernandes and Mason Greenwood were taken off
And
late.
none of those guys looked anything like what we have been watching.
They weren't as sharp.
They weren't as sharp. But,
Fernandes in particular.
right. But my thinking is that even if they're not sharp, and say it's the right move, on paper.
So this is a good
When
point.
Southampton looks up and sees Pogba's gone, Fernandes is gone,
Right.
Greenwood's gone, it's basically, for them, I would be thinking, well, they think the
Let's
game's
go for
over.
it.
Let's go for it. And that's what they did. And on that final corner kick or set-piece routine, they were able to get the ball over the line and got a 2-2 draw. So all three of those teams dropped points this past weekend. Moving over to Tuesday then, Chelsea were able to pick up a 1-0 win over Norwich. The scoreline doesn't show it, but Norwich didn't get a shot on goal, and they only had 2 shots in the game, so even though it was 1-0, Chelsea controlled it fairly easy for the entirety of the match. They were able to pick up the win. Leicester and Man United then picked up wins in midweek. I will say, though, about the United game, I would say they were a little bit lucky to have gotten away with that result because before their first goal, arguably they could have had a penalty called against them, but VAR didn't look at it, and then Crystal Palace equalized in the second half, but he was a fraction of the offsides.
My God!
I mean, the lines
You
were-
had to get right next to the TV to see it. And even
a
though I
magnifying
was very grateful for that. In fact, I was watching the game.
Yeah.
When they scored that goal, I turned the TV off. I was so pissed off, and I'm not watching anymore.
Well, I thought
and I turned it back
it was
on.
even
and
less
didn't
close than
have
it
to
was.
go
I
up.
actually thought, like, oh man, is he offsides? And they're looking at him, like, yeah, he's probably offsides. And then they show you two, and I'm like, is he really offsides? Because they're trying to tell me one line's ahead of the other, but his toe is. They measured the exact point of where the boot is at. It's long. I don't
It
know.
might have been the spike. His
Like, he
cleat was.
should have put on the low spikes.
Oh my God!
It was the thinnest of margins. So where that left us, basically, what we're so again, 3 teams left. Chelsea is still in third place somehow, despite that bad loss to Sheffield. They've managed to stay in third place. They are 1 point ahead of Leicester and Manchester United, who are tied on 62 points. But, and this has now has come into play big time, Leicester has a 3 goals advantage on goal difference. Of course, that will be even bigger because after this game week, the final game of the season, Leicester City hosts Manchester United.
Yeah, it's
That's
the
a
way
huge-
it's set
that's
up.
a
is-
huge game.
The drama, I mean,
The
way
drama is
that-
unbelievable.
The results, you haven't been able to predict it. The teams have not been consistent.
Not
Defense
at
is-
all consistent.
Right.
I mean,
Defense
that
has been a
game,
huge part.
you could tell. Fernandez took a couple free kicks and corner kicks, and they were short. They were considerably short,
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
into the opponent's foot. Well, in previous games, he would have put the ball in the guy's head.
Yes.
All right, I think we're seeing now. I mean, these are the top athletes at the top level of their game. But even then, with the amount of fixtures, think about it. Today, Manchester United have an FA Cup fixture against Chelsea. You don't know how seriously it's going to be taken because, again, you don't know about the fitness levels. You don't know about
Everybody
injuries.
wants the cup. Everybody wants a trophy.
Everybody wants a trophy, but
Absolutely.
they also want this Champions League spot for the money and
Oh,
obviously
right.
to get the players that they want. I think it's paramount. Obviously, Chelsea have brought in guys, but they still want to keep spending, and United have yet to really dip their toe into the big player pool.
Well, you know what? Like they were talking about on the broadcast this morning. You know, these teams that are relegated. Like who's going after what? Pookie or what's the guy's
Yeah,
name?
Norwich is going down.
Yeah. So who's going to end up with him?
Right.
You know, and how do you like to have him as a guy that can come off the bench in the 70th minute of a tie game?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody needs depth, and I think again it's interesting to see how the 2 teams Chelsea United take today and see how they do. They both play again on Wednesday. Chelsea have a huge matchup against Liverpool, who have really had a severe drop in form, and you don't know what the reaction will be after these losses. And then United are playing; they're at home, but they're playing West Ham, who still need to pick up a result to ensure that they're safe. So
we are seeing fatigue, a lot of fatigue in the players. I think at this point.
Yeah.
And even yesterday, I mean, Man City's now out of the cup, so defensively they
I haven't
they
followed
failed
the
the
cup
game.
at all. So where are we now?
we're at the
Semifinals.
semifinals.
Semis.
Chelsea
This
United will
weekend.
play.
When is that?
They'll play today
Today,
at
later
noon,
today.
Oh,
and then
today.
the final will be, I believe, not
2 weeks.
not this Saturday, but the following Saturday.
So United Chelsea play today.
Yep.
Can you watch it on TV?
ESPN Plus.
ESPN Plus.
ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
You have ESPN.
Yeah, I do now. Yeah.
I think they're going to put the final on ESPN. I would think, or ESPN2. I would think they would do that.
So then I won't be
You
able to
would
watch
think,
it.
but they
Yeah.
might be contractually unable to do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay,
but yeah.
Josh, we got any more time left in this? Ed? All right, quickly.
Yep.
Got a minute left. Wrap up for us. The top 4.
it's going to come down to defense. Honestly, we know about Chelsea's insane struggles. United, it's still a problem, even though they're banging in goals left and right. And Leicester, we've seen it. They're now without Soyuncu these last 2 games because they're rocking defense. How's that going to look? So it's going to come down to defense. Leicester played Tottenham today, which is a huge, again, game for them. You just got to see points are a premium, and they got to at least ensure they keep that goal difference over there.
Yeah, Spurs have been picking it up a little in the last few games.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, Ed.
Sir.
Let's go over the
Oh, you want me to announce this?
Well, yeah, you said you could do all this stuff. He got Eric Clapton over here,
I'm
got
sorry.
lost in the moment.
I was lost in the moment. Hey, it's time for the women's game, and no one better to discuss that than our own Ted Williams.
Tedoro, ¿qué tal?
Guys. All right. So the NWSL Challenge Cup continued this week, and all of the teams that finished near the top of the table in the preliminary rounds are leaving the bubble and heading home. North Carolina Courage, the odds-on favorite, 4-0 in preliminary, gonzo. Portland Thorns, who, coming into the tournament, my friend Dan Laletta told me, said they're going to have a hard time scoring. He was very prophetic. But in one given match,
They scored enough.
Ding, 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 ding. It's Bournemouth 1, Southampton 1.
Wow.
94th minute.
huge goal.
Yeah.
Anybody can be game planned. You add on, kind of like in baseball, a good starting pitching performance, a great goalkeeping performance by not the starter, not the backup, but
Third straight.
the third in the depth chart, Britt Eckerstrom. Arguably had been training the best of all three. But Adriana Franch is the starter. She's a U.S. national team pool player. Britt Bixby. The Britt Bixby? Is it Bree Bixby? It's BB. Bixby played great. First three matches. She was dinged up, and she's got a partially teared ACL. So Britt Eckerstrom suits up, and former FIFA Women's International Player of the Year, Nadine Angerer, the German, who's the goalkeeper coach, has to suit up as the emergency keeper just in case. Nadine is the only player, man or woman, who has ever won the Ballon d'Or as a goalkeeper.
And
No-
she's early 40s or something?
she's up there, but
Was she eating a pie? Remember that?
Yeah.
When they caught that goalkeeper. So, yeah.
yeah.
And somebody
By the way,
paid him.
that goal's been wiped off for no.
Oh, man.
Oh.
So it's
Actually, it's
North
okay with
Carolina
me.
won.
Okay.
Go ahead,
So,
put a nail in there.
Britt
Carl.
Eckerstrom played it, not the match of her life, but it was a great match.
Might have been a match of her life.
Maybe.
Holy cow.
What remains to be seen. One of the things I mentioned last week that's been great about this event is that we're entering a new era of how pregame and postgame is being done. Literally can have pregame and postgame on the fly, even outside the network. Okay? So CBS All Access is doing the games. CBS HQ, Sports HQ is doing the pre and post, but you have Thorns doing their own pre and post. You have a couple other clubs. You have NWSL and Equalizer doing pre and post Zoom coverage, things like that. So it's been great. So huge upset. North Carolina Courage goes home. They were the odds-on favorite, and my first reaction is, it's really good for the league.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when the Yankees were on their run back in the 60s, or in the Yankees were on their run in the late 90s. The fact that intermittently somebody else would jump in and beat the evil empire. I love the way the Courage play. And Lynn Williams, who I've mentioned many times, she torched the right back consistently for the first 20 minutes, but they couldn't score. And their best goal-scoring opportunities were from the Brazilian Debinha, and Ackerstrom was up to the task on those. So the next team that was thought, well, they could give the Courage a run for their money. Washington Spirit.
They're out.
Rose Lavelle's dinged up. Andy Sullivan is out for the rest of the tournament at the time. Now they're out. The other three semifinals, no goals in regulation. It was decided before the tournament started that there would be no extra time. We would go directly to penalty kicks. In the first matchup, it was Utah and Houston, and arguably the best PK goalkeeper in the women's game for the Dash. Name's escaping me.
This is really disappointing, Ted. Duck his pay, Ed.
I got it. I'm on it. Anyway, what'd you do?
You all know who she is.
Right. Yeah, we do.
Hope Solo.
I'll think of it. Anyway, she forced the first kicker to try to roof it right down the middle, over the top. Stop two others. Dash advance.
Sorry, we got a score update. Bournemouth 0, Southampton 2 in the 99th minute.
Oh.
Jane Campbell.
Jane
There you go.
Jane Campbell, who is also in the mix to be a national team goalkeeper. All right, so the last two semifinals, we had the Red Stars last evening defeat OL Reign, and their penalty kicks, their 5 were great. I mean, the Red Stars really did a nice job on their penalty kicks. And Alyssa Nair, their goalkeeper, who's the starter for the national team, she came up big on, I guess it was probably the 5th taker. She stopped it and won the match for
She also
Red
had
Stars.
a really good save in regulation too on a free kick where she was able to push it up over the bar.
Right.
She had a really good game.
Yeah. So the goalkeeping was stellar in this tournament, and the final participant in the semifinals is Sky Blue FC, the club that we've talked about for the last couple of years, just being in complete disarray, and they come through and win in penalty kicks.
Keep the host.
Right. So it's one of those things, guys, where I'm excited for the next round. First of all, they get off that awful turf that they played on. Again, the highest quality of turf, but it's turf. And these girls are beat up physically. The rug burns are unbelievable. Somebody was injured on the field in the game last night. As they were treating them, both of her shins were just scraped to heck. Okay?
To heck?
To heck.
We're on Facebook. You can
They were scraped to hell. So
calm down, Ted.
we're moving to Rio Tinto, grass field. They're gonna kiss that turf when they get on it. Okay, it's gonna be an unbelievable change for them. It's not gonna be quite as warm on that pitch as it is on the turf, but now it's a free for all.
Yeah.
Okay, and you know what? Portland's riding that big victory to Courage, but they could go home next round. It really legitimately could happen. So we've got Thorns against Dash, and we've got Sky Blue against Chicago, and it is up for grabs, folks. And I'm really looking forward to the semis, and then ultimately who can survive.
And those semis are on Wednesday, is that right?
Yes. So I heard some rumblings on the podcast this morning that there's some of the teams in the bubble are starting to get a little stir crazy. It's a long time to be alone with any group of people. So I guess gauge the fact that this is happening in this particular tournament. So keep an eye on the NBA, the MLS, and the NHL, because if you start hearing about any fisticuffs or teams that aren't getting along,
Kind of like me and Edmundo.
It may come down to who can be cohesive
Yeah.
through the entire ride.
The mental aspect of it.
And by all accounts, Portland is having a great time. They're saying that their team culture is as strong as it's ever been, and it's been strong in the past.
And I think the main thing that you've said, I think that this North Carolina going down, it just showcased how far the league's come and the depth of the league. I think when push came to shove, you see all these upsets. I think that
You know, and
it's
they were
nothing but
really
things.
gracious in defeat. They said, "Hey, Britt Eckerstrup, great match. We're sorry to be going home, but you guys earned it."
And now it's time for one of our favorite segments. Here's Russell with the scores.
Scores brought to you by Tango in St. Louis. Tango in the time of coronavirus is taking an extended break. Since the rebirth of Argentine tango in the 1980s, recorded music has been the norm at most milongas, although live music is sometimes arranged. A skilled tango DJ needs to have an extensive collection of and be knowledgeable about the available recorded music, and must also read the energy of the room in order to choose the right music to provide the dancers with a great experience. And now, the scores at 3:01 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. English Premier League. Yesterday, Norwich City 0, Burnley 2. Today, it's, as we just heard, it's Bournemouth 0, Southampton 2. The game has just begun. Tottenham Hotspur against Leicester City, 0-0 right now. Tomorrow, Brighton Hove Albion against Newcastle United, Sheffield United against Everton, Wolverhampton Wanderers against Crystal Palace. Tuesday, it's Watford against Manchester City, Aston Villa against Arsenal. And on Wednesday, it's Manchester United against West Ham United and Liverpool against Chelsea. So few games in the Premier League this weekend because of the FA Cup semi-finals. Yesterday, Arsenal 2, Manchester City 0. Today, it's Manchester United against Chelsea. Italian Serie A. Yesterday, Hellas Verona 1, Atalanta 1. Cagliari 1, Sassuolo 1. AC Milan 5, Bologna 1. Today's game, beginning in about 13 minutes, is Parma against Sampdoria. And later today, we have Brescia against Spal, Fiorentina against Torino, Genoa against Lecce, Napoli against Udinese, and then the later game is Roma against Inter Milan. And tomorrow it's Juventus against Lazio. The MLS is back tournament on Friday. DC United 1, New England Revolution 1. Sporting KC 3, Colorado Rapids 2. Real Salt Lake 0, Minnesota United 0. Yesterday, Portland Timbers 2, Houston Dynamo 1. Los Angeles FC 6, Los Angeles Galaxy 2. Diego Rossi with 4 goals in that match.
Whoa.
Today it's Chicago Fire against San Jose Earthquakes, followed by Seattle Sounders against Vancouver Whitecaps. The NWSL Challenge Cup, as we heard, Friday, North Carolina Courage 0, Portland Thorns 1. Houston Dash 0, Utah Royals 0, Dash advance on penalties. Yesterday it was Washington Spirit 0, Sky Blue 0. Sky Blue advance on penalties, and OL Reign 0, Chicago Red Stars 0, Red Stars advancing on penalties. And that concludes the score report brought to you by Tango in St. Louis.
Josh, thanks, Russell. Josh, do you think, Russell, I'd like to hear what you think too. Do you think maybe the MLS should have waited until the Premier League was over, so you wouldn't be watching as like a compare and contrast thing? I've read some stuff on Facebook this week, again, the medium we are on now, about people being a little bit underwhelmed by the MLS.
It's interesting, but I think also remember MLS is still trying to have a season that after this tournament they intend to come back to the regular home stadiums and play out as much of the season as they can. This is mainly just for
Whoa!
Yeah.
What?
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
This is for a CONCACAF Champions League spot and some money, but they really intend to use these results to, when hopefully as the pandemic they continue to get a hold on it, that they come back to the stadiums and they do what the Premier League's been doing, playing.
So this year,
Yeah,
like in September or something?
whenever the tournament's over, yeah.
So they're just going to have like a totally give in to the oddball nature of it, run a regular regular season?
Yeah, the rest of the season they'll just use these results and the results before the
Just
pandemic.
incorporate them in, because they had started the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh, so this is just a separate tournament for the CONCACAF and money.
correct. This is just
Okay.
really to get them back going into things and to hopefully figure out a plan for when this is over. They can have
Buy some
matches.
time when they figure it out. I mean,
Yeah.
who
Well,
knows?
it's
I mean,
smart.
the situation on the ground, maybe they can't go back, but at least they will have done this thing to get
Yeah.
qualifiers.
Yeah.
So, but I think your point is, which leagues stand up against the Premier League around the world? I mean,
Yeah, it's hard.
I
It is
mean,
really. Champions League will.
So
But-
in terms
The
of
Champions
in
League.
terms of quality of play and exposure and
Right.
coverage, it's
The
tough.
package.
It's tough.
Anything else you look at, if you look at the MLS, if you look at the A-League now started, it's on ESPN Plus, you see the pace of play is just not the same.
No, it's
by
just
and
not
large.
the same.
So,
It's just
okay.
not even close. It's almost a different sport.
It's almost a different sport. It's a
Speaking
different
of MLS, that's what my top
Well, let's
10
just go. We're
concerns
just
are.
going to go right now to
Josh,
Josh's.
top 5, sponsored by Regazzi's on the Hill.
Ooh, I love Regazzi.
So again, the MLS back tournament has been extremely entertaining. The goals have really picked up from the earlier start where it was a struggle. Now the goals are coming in fast and furious, and there's been a lot of impressive results. So I wanted to do my top 10 results of the MLS back tournament so far, and I wanted to open up at number 10. Columbus Crew versus FC Cincinnati, commonly known as the Hell is Real Derby. And it was a beatdown. It was the opening match for those teams. Columbus Crew beat Cincinnati 4-0. Columbus looked fantastic, and then they went on to beat New York Red Bull. So it's a great start for Columbus. They beat their rivals. Those goals were fantastic. Zardes scored twice in that game, and there was a really good free kick also. Just a really good showing by Columbus that obviously parlayed into a good start. Number 9, sticking with Cincinnati, who again have continued to struggle since coming into MLS, but they actually were able to pick up a victory when they beat Atlanta United in their second match 1-0.
Ding, 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 ding. It's Tottenham Hotspur 1, Leicester City 0 in the 6th minute. Deflection into the goal.
But Cincinnati were able to beat Atlanta 1-0. Atlanta finished with 9 men, and it was their second loss. They're 0-2 so far in the tournament. Think about it. A few years ago, Atlanta were the kings of the league. They were an offensive juggernaut, and they haven't scored yet in this tournament. Obviously, they're missing Joseph Martinez due to his long-term injury, but they just have not looked anything like they have in these first 2 matches. So, important win there for Cincinnati. Number 8. Can I continue? Or?
Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead. Could be wiped off. Right?
Okay.
Let's see.
Number 8, Portland Timbers 2, LA Galaxy 1. This was the opening match for both teams. Chicharito scored his first goal for the Galaxy, but that was after a lot of missed opportunities. He missed a penalty in that game. He missed a couple other easier chances. And the Galaxy opened their lead, the tournament with a loss, and Portland parlayed that into another win last night, and they're 2-0 so far. Number 7 was the opening match of the tournament. Orlando City SC 2, Inter Miami CF 1. Nani led a nice little comeback there in the second half to pick up the victory. And once again, momentum for a team to get a comeback win. Orlando then won their next match, and they've started out 2-0 as well, and have secured, I think, a spot in the round of 16. So it was an important comeback victory for them. Next up, number 6, Toronto FC 2, DC United 2. DC United came all the way back from a 2-0 deficit at halftime, despite being a man down. They were a man down for most of this match, found a way to come back, scored 2 goals late on. Importantly, 20-year-old Ayo Akinola scored twice for Toronto. I'll speak more about him coming up here in just a little bit. Number 5, LAFC 3, Houston Dynamo 3. This was the first match for LAFC. And, I got to tell you, folks, if you want to get into soccer and are hoping for goals, just watch any LAFC match, because they're either going to be scoring or they're going to be letting goals in, because this was fast and furious. They were down 3-1 in the second half. They managed to come back. Even without Carlos Vela, they have a tremendous, tremendous assets up top that are able to score goals. One of the ones being newly Bradley Wright Phillips, who is the leading goal scorer for Red Bulls. It was a tremendous comeback, and it was a tremendous match. Number 4, Minnesota United 2, Sporting KC 1. This was a matchup I highlighted before the tournament started between 2 really good teams. KC controlled this game for most of the match, but then Tim Mila, their goalie, got a red card late on in the second half, and United were able to pick up 2 goals in stoppage time to come back and win. Really important win there for Minnesota. Number 3, San Jose Earthquakes 4, Vancouver Whitecaps 3. San Jose came back from a 3-1 second half deficit. Just a tremendous amount of pressure that they were able to put on the Whitecaps, able to get the comeback complete late on in stoppage time, I believe the 98th minute. Number 2, match last night, LAFC 6, Galaxy 2. El Trafico never disappoints, and in this one, it was
goals.
even up to the 2-2 point, but in the second half, LAFC they went into 5th and 6th gear. It was amazing to watch. Deo Rossi, as Russell said, scored 4 goals. Seemed like every pass just completely opened up the defense. They were just on another level. And really, again, Galaxy starting out 0-2. There's an important development there. Chicharito didn't play also in this one. And then lastly, number 1, Toronto FC 4, Montreal Impact 3. It was Canadian Classique, the derby there. The 20-year-old Akinola scored a hat trick after scoring 2 goals in the opening match, so he has 5 goals. He's the tournament's leading scorer. 20 years old. He has played at the under-20 level for the United States, but he can play for Canada and Nigeria. I'd like to see him with the U.S. But again, another tremendous back-and-forth game with a lot of goals, which has been the theme over the past few days. Goals are coming in. The games have been great. Check it out on ESPN and Fox. MLS is back trending.
Well done, Josh. Uh-oh. You know what that means? That means we're switching here. Gears. Let me switch over around here because I can't get the thing to switch. Let's leave it on that right there. Right there. All right. On the phone, we have Dave Lange. Dave, are you there?
Yes, sir. How are you, Tom?
Good. How are you?
Good. Are you guys going stir crazy in your little bubble there?
Yeah, it's a bubble of sorts. Hey, Dave, I'm holding up a copy of your book, Soccer Made in St. Louis. And I am told that you are re-releasing it. Is that correct?
Yes, it's going to come out, was going to come out a year from this coming August, but with the announcement on Friday about MLS being pushed back a year, we're going to push it back to August of 22.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I heard my phone was going off. Say that again. This is coming. When is the book coming out?
It was going to come out in August of 2021.
Okay.
But we pushed it back to August of 2022 with the announcement on Friday about MLS being delayed here for a year or so.
What's your take on that?
You could see it coming because the MLS for the Loop people were pretty silent, pretty quiet the last couple months, other than a few social media posts. And from what you could see on the stadium, it looked like there wasn't really anything coming out of the ground. They were doing a lot of site preparation work, but they weren't. It didn't look like they were going full speed ahead and actually putting stuff out of the ground.
Hey, Dave, what we're going to do is we're going to just go around the horn here. We're going to show Russell now with a picture, the copy of your book. He's going to ask you a question.
So, Dave, the MLS group has said they're going to make some kind of announcement tomorrow, I think. Any clue what that could be about?
I'm wondering if it's going to be either the hiring of a sporting director or, more information on the name of the team. Because when they announced the team, I covered it for MLSsoccer.com, and Jim Kavanaugh said at that time, the 2 most important things they had to do is get the stadium going and hire a sporting director, to manage the soccer side of the operation. So, they've got to get going on that sort of stuff. So,
and they haven't done that yet, right?
They haven't done that yet, or at least they haven't announced it yet. They may have hired somebody, just haven't announced it yet. I think would.
So I've got another question. I'm going to hold off in case Ted has it first.
Just go for it.
So my question is, this delay of the MLS starting up. What about the prospects for getting a women's team here?
I think that would be great. I think they're trying to get their, take one step at a time. They really need to get this MLS infrastructure. I mean, they've got a lot of things they got to do. They got to hire first of all, sporting director. Then they got to hire a scouting staff, coaches, all kinds of infrastructure they've got to do. And I think they need to focus on this first. And once they get that set in stone, they can think about a women's team. That's another whole layer of administration and coaches and things like that. So I think they're just trying to take their, get their priorities done first and then look at the women's side.
Hey Dave, it's Josh here. Switching gears a little bit, we had St. Louis FC last night pick up a historic victory over Louisville. It's the first time that they had won on the road versus their rivals, and only their second win overall. They've gotten back into their season with this new shortened schedule that they got. What are your thoughts about them coming back and about the USL coming back with their experiment with fans?
It's going to be interesting to see what happens next Sunday because I think, if I'm not mistaken, St. Louis FC will be the first St. Louis pro team to actually have a game with fans in the stands. So there are going to be a lot of people watching to see how that goes. As you know, they've put restrictions on it, 50% capacity, social distancing, masks, and all that. But they're going to be under the microscope a lot next Sunday. So I'm sure they're very nervous and being very particular about how getting all this stuff set up. The game last night was great. I mean, I love that goal. It was somebody said it was right off the training ground, and it was at that corner kick the way it was executed. So I'm excited to see him back, and it's going to be interesting to see how this goes next Sunday with their first home game.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how the precautions look, because it looks as though they're tied by the county a little bit when it comes to the mask requirement and things like that. But it will obviously just be interesting to see. It's an ongoing situation. Dave, always appreciate your coverage of the city and all the soccer that's going on. Obviously, the pandemic has put a lot of plans, have changed a lot of things, either on the youth soccer level or high school soccer, collegiate soccer. What are some of the things that you've been seeing around the area of how teams or organizations are handling the pandemic?
I've been kind of watching what's been going on in the youth sports. They took one step forward, then another step back as far as like the phases they could do, and I saw there's some youth soccer people upset about that because they want to go and start playing and things like that. It's this whole virus thing is such a conundrum. People want to get going, but then you've got to take the risks of spreading it. So, and the college thing, I've really been watching carefully because, as you know, the Atlantic 10 Conference announced it's pushing their fall sports back to spring. So St. Louis Shoes men's and women's teams won't be playing. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't seen anything yet coming out of the conference SIU Edwardsville is in. And as far as the Division III schools and Division II schools in town, Upstone and Fontbonne, Webster, Missouri Baptist, I haven't seen anything on them yet, so I'm watching that very carefully to see how they're going to handle this.
Should be curious, Dave, if some of the bigger schools that have the part of the Big Five football conferences, if they try to pull off a conference schedule in the fall, and then what that means for actual NCAA championships when all is said and done. But I guess one of the things I wanted to ask you about, and I've been trying to trumpet how tremendous the planning and the execution of the NWSL Challenge Cup has been. Been trying to trumpet that to anybody and everybody that would listen. Commissioner Lisa Baird took a consensus-based approach to planning this event involving the player reps, the player rep committee, the owners, and the management of the clubs in establishing what the criteria would be for this bubble in Utah. And by all accounts, it's been just a raging success when it comes to trying to administratively conduct this championship. What have you observed, and what are your thoughts on that?
They've done a really good job on it. It's kind of like what happened with MLS, which started a little bit later. They had a couple teams. The Orlando team had to drop out on the NWS. And once they got there, I haven't really heard any issues at all. I mean, I was just sorry to see the St. Louis women in the league aren't there because of injuries and other situations. But they've pulled that off really well, I think.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch, and boy, the last 24 to 36 hours, the league just was turned on its head with the results in the quarterfinals. And mentioned to the fellows earlier, it's really good for the league. It would not have been as a memorable of a championship if the Courage just would have steamrolled the competition to the championship. I think that the fact that 3 of the 4 clubs being from the bottom of the preliminary table schedule, advancing, and some of the clubs that have really struggled in recent years getting a chance to participate in a final of a championship is really cool for the league.
Yeah, they're doing a great job on that.
Hey, Dave. Russell's got another question.
So I wanted to get back to the book. I mean, it's probably good to hear that you're going to take a little bit extra time to get it out. One of the things I'd like people to understand about is you're actually producing a second edition, correct? So you'll be putting some new material into the book.
Huh.
Yeah, basically what we're going to do is fix a few things that are in there, expand on some things in there. Like there's a story on Lori Klupney in the first edition. That's going to be completely revamped because things have changed since then. And then there'll be an entire new chapter covering the period from 2010 to the present. So the new parts of the book will be covering the last decade, and then adding some statistical material in the back to some of the tables. Like I put together a list of all St. Louisans who ever played in MLS. That'll be in there. All St. Louisans who ever played for the national team, men or women. St. Louis players who played in the North American Soccer League. But primarily the book's going to take us up to the present with a new chapter. So I'm doing a lot of interviews in the process of doing that right now.
Dave, what's the social media handles that people can check you out and get some of these capsules that you publish daily? Just direct people to where on Facebook, Twitter, etc., that they might go and give you a follow.
Sure, the Twitter handle is Dave at Soccer Made in St. Louis, with no period after the Saint. And there's a daily today in St. Louis soccer history, what happened there. And then, I've put out news items. Facebook is just Dave Lange, and LinkedIn it's David Lange. So, but the primary soccer information comes on the Twitter handle.
Hey, Dave. I wish you would make it possible for us to share your daily posting on Facebook. I can't share it. Jim Leaker does some trick which I don't really understand. But
what I can do is I have an email distribution list, so there's 3 people that get the PDF files. If you'd like to do that, just put you on that.
Well, yeah, definitely put me and Ted on that, and then we can include that on, because we're obviously kicking into this Facebook because it's all we got left. You got one more shout out, Dave? One more anything that you wanna hit on before we go?
We've covered the main points, just where we're going with the book, what the production schedule is, and I appreciate you guys having me on to talk about that. And we've talked about St. Louis FC starting up next Sunday. So I think we've covered all the bases I was hoping we could cover. I got to tell you, I like your Three Stooges cardboard cutout there.
Yeah,
Only with your friends from the short Three Little Beers.
Yeah,
One of my favorite Three Stooges.
Did you know they were STL United fans?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
They're 3 knuckleheads, just like the rest of us knuckleheads.
Okay, Dave. Thanks a lot, man. We'll talk to you
Thanks for
soon.
having me on.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
Take care.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Be well.
Okay, there's your phone there. Great. Uh-oh. All right. While we await a call, let's just move ahead here because we'll wait for Jason's call.
Well, I wanted to harp on the point that Dave made about the MLS for the Loot thing. The fact that Carolyn Kendall Betts kind of teased an announcement tomorrow, where I think that the name and the colors would be the obvious choice and what everybody's hoping for. I think what Dave mentioned, the possible hiring of a sporting director or someone in the front office, would be equally good news, obviously. Now, of course, we got an extra year to do all this stuff, but the sooner you get people in, the sooner they can begin their work. So I think either announcement would be very exciting tomorrow.
I think what are they doing?
So it came from above, right? This is not the group's decision. This is from MLS. Basically, and
To
this
do
is,
nothing in the community? That makes.
Well, no, that's not the
I
plan.
don't believe. I don't believe it.
I have a feeling they'll try to move ahead with some things in the community.
Yeah,
in
they're
the
still
meantime.
going to do stuff.
But
They
to
just donated
date-
all those meals to the food bank.
No,
for the video thing.
and all of that is great.
The timing of the colors and the logo is probably the timing is probably dictated from the league at some level, and I can't imagine that this point in time, from a running out to get your new MLS club gear, is a good timing.
Right.
It might be before the holiday season,
Yeah.
this year, or next year.
Okay.
Who knows? But in the meantime, they've got to get their house in order to continue to plan for this launch. I can't imagine what Nashville's going through right now. You've got this club, and you're launching it, and the league is postponed, and your team gets eliminated from the cup, right? Did they get eliminated?
Well, no,
because-
they got kicked out because they had too many
because of the
positive
COVID
cases.
thing, right? I can't imagine.
Yeah.
So I don't want that for our club. I'd rather be patient with all those announcements that when, hey, we're seeing the facade of the stadium coming out of the ground.
Yeah.
So the stadium
It's-
could really be ready to use
Right.
in 2022 for something.
Correct. The point was
Right.
made that the construction is still on schedule.
On schedule, and its
So
construction hasn't really been slowed down.
Here's-
I mean, in the end,
wait-
once we're playing, once the team's going in 2024 or whatever, we're going to forget all of this stuff.
Wait a
Right.
second. Wait a second.
We are
Wait
gonna
a second.
forget the stuff.
Here's this is the only point I'm making. Is the point I'm trying to make is that they had tremendous momentum.
Yeah.
right.
They gave up that momentum. They
Either way, it would have
simply
been stalled, Tom.
Right.
It's inevitable.
Well,
It'll come
It
back.
really would have. Either way, it would have been stalled.
Right.
you can't
If-
know
if-
that.
if you-
That's an
if-
unknowable.
If you
That is
burst-
an
if
unknowable.
you do that then, and now you extended another year, that any momentum that would have been in some sort of a project manager timeline, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. Now we can, if let's say you're right. Let's say you're right.
About
and
what?
And
About
that
what?
they missed an opportunity. Now they've got another chance to gain it and really run.
Right. And who,
They would have been stalled big time.
who knows what the pandemic knocked out? Honestly, what they had planned. If they can't be there in person to do these types of things
Yeah.
or to have these types of events because of the pandemic, we will never know.
And we don't
And
know what the path of the pandemic
Right.
is right now.
Oh,
What's ahead
right,
of us.
right.
And that's the main thing of this whole delay is the economic standpoint. They want people in that stadium. They don't want to come back and we're still at 50% capacity, in 2022. Because honestly, the way we're going with the whole mask issue that we talked about earlier, we're still going to be wearing masks and having not as many fans.
We don't know what. I mean,
So what?
I mean, the best case scenario is early next year we have a widespread vaccine.
Right.
That's effective.
Yeah.
That totally changes the game.
Totally
if we don't
changes
have
it.
that, then that's where we are in 2022.
Wait a second. You guys are talking about a different thing than I'm talking about.
We don't
That's
like
all
what
right.
you're talking about. Let's move on.
Okay, well, I'll turn the damn camera off. See how you feel.
We're designed right enough to understand you, Tom.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
No. Simply this is as you actually pointed out. There are not ceaseless opportunities for momentum. Momentum is something you have to cash in on when you get it. And to me, they've done nothing. I mean, I don't. What do you see on Facebook every once in a while? Every once in a while, we'll get an email. Yeah, they don't have a team yet, but they have a bunch of people dying.
Jason's trying to call you.
Oh, who is? Oh, Jason's trying to call me. Okay, all right. Hold on, Jason. Here, talk about something, Russell.
We love MLS for the Lou.
Yeah.
We do love MLS.
Well, you
But,
guys do.
I mean, I think we're curious about what they're going to announce tomorrow.
And also, think about it from a St. Louis FC perspective. What does that do for them? Because the rumor obviously was that they were going to be discontinued
Hey, hold
for next
on.
season. But now that the year's
Hold
been
on.
delayed, you're hoping that maybe we could get another year out of them. It'll be interesting to see.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not going to be crushed if they don't announce the logo on
No,
Right.
I'm not.
There's
I
so
don't
much
even
they
care
can
about the
announce
logo.
that they will get a good positive reaction with whatever they get. People just want something,
That's Josh. That's exactly the point I'm trying to make. Just give us something. Give us a weekly. Put Vinco on Facebook Live once a week. We can tune in, and he can just say, "Hey, there's nothing going on." That'd be enough for me. Okay, on the phone, I believe we have Jason Norsic. Are you there, Jason? Oh, wait a second. I don't have you on speaker. Very good. Not so good at this. All right. Hey, on the phone we have Jason Norsic. Are you there, Jason?
Hey guys, I am here.
What are you up to today?
Heading to the store for one last clearance sale.
But just for this weekend, right? I mean, you're going to have one more sale, or you're going to sell everything out today?
We're going to have one more sale in about 2 weeks, depending on what's left today. But there still is a bunch left in there, so I need people to come on by.
Come on by. And where again is this?
We're inside Chesterfield Mall on the south end, right where the Sears used to be. I'm parking my van out front. I'm putting a banner, so go where a white van with a banner is and go through those doors and you'll find me.
Hey, go ahead.
Tell us a little bit about the types of things you're blowing out, Jason.
So we got the sandals for $5. We got Joma shirts for $5. We got goalkeeper gloves for $5. We got goalkeeper jerseys for $5. I'm just trying to get rid of everything we have in there. Cleats, indoors, running shoes, all from $10 to $40.
So parents, as a parent of 3 children, they keep growing. So
Plan ahead.
try to think ahead. Size 7, size 8, size 9. Jason can probably direct you when it comes to goalkeeper gloves. All right, if they're wearing this size now, you need to go here, here, and here. Great opportunity to stock up for your young one who loves the beautiful game.
With high quality stuff.
All right. Go ahead, Josh.
I was
Go
going to say,
ahead.
hey Jason, I saw some pictures online over the past week. I know this has been a project that's been going on for a little bit, and you were actually at this facility. I want you to talk to people about the newest indoor soccer facility in St. Louis.
Yeah, it's a football club, STL. It's just a couple blocks away from the Science Center, so it's right in the middle of everything. It's a huge facility. They got 5v5 fields. 3 of them have walls. 2 of them do not have walls, so it's almost like a futsal court, but it's you just play regular soccer. And then they do have an additional field that is a futsal court. So 6 fields in all. A huge big screen TV for fans to watch soccer on or sit to watch their kids play. It's a great facility. It's nice and clean, and it's just awesome.
All right, hey Jason. Again, it's this weekend, and then in a couple weeks, you're gonna have a final sale, right?
Yeah, the final. So this weekend today would be from 1 till 4. I can stay later if people can't get out there, but then I need to take a couple weeks off to regain, count the inventory if there's any inventory left on certain things. But then I'm going to be selling fixtures, so clothes hangers, everything I have. There's a couple TVs I have that there's no reason for me to have in there anymore, so I'm going to sell all that stuff as well.
Golden opportunity. Okay, how do people get a hold of you?
They can write sales at gkunion.com or go to the website www.gkunion.com, and I'll be posting pictures of the items I have on my Instagram and Facebook page. Both of those are at GKUnion LLC.
All right, Jason, thanks a lot. Good luck and keep me posted.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate everything you guys do.
Cool. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Jason. Bye.
Okay, I've got a couple shout-outs before we head to our next segment.
Okay.
Happy birthday, Patrick Carricker.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Patrick.
We miss you, bud.
Hope you're doing well, Patrick.
You have no idea how much we miss you.
Happy birthday to my brother from another mother, Vince Castaldo, out in Phoenix. My high school and college teammate, Vince. I love you. Enjoy your day and stay well out there.
Okay. Who is this segment brought to us by, Edmundo?
Tom, this segment is brought to us by Pietro's, longtime
I love Pietro's.
restaurant. I used to eat lunch there.
Back when you
regularly.
worked?
Back when I worked.
Why'd you stop working anyway?
I got so rich, I didn't need to anymore.
Oh, Jesus. Let's talk about the SCL.
Look out the street.
And now brought to you by Jaguar.
Everyone
Wood
should
paneling
know.
throughout.
Okay, what are we talking about? We're talking about the Premier League.
EPL.
Relegation.
Look out. The
So,
Premier League.
do we want to start with the positive or the negative when
Well-
it comes to relegation?
Well, the first thing we're going to start out, obviously, is talk about the Hammers.
The Hammers.
The Hammers are looking good, Josh.
So, as I had said the previous week, the schedule was starting to look good for West Ham, where they were able to play a couple of teams close to their skill set, and were able to pick up some victories. But the big one was on Friday. West Ham versus Watford were tied on points, one spot above the relegation zone. It was a big game. It was at West Ham, and West Ham came out flying. 3 goals right out of the gate. Michail Antonio continued his just crazy hot form, scored the first one. My favorite personally was a guy I talked about last week, Declan Rice. Absolute
Screamer.
beautiful curler.
Is he English?
He is English. 21 years old.
So, under 21 player? Or
Well, no, he's 21 now. So I think that he's had some senior national team appearances already, or at
he
least
may have.
one
I
for
never heard of
England. He's a fantastic young player. Scored a beautiful goal, and they gave up one, but still they held on. So with that win, the 2 games left, they're 6 points above the final relegation spot. So obviously,
And with a superior goal difference.
right, obviously any points
One
will
point. They need 1 point.
guarantee them safety. But they're looking pretty good regardless because the situation with the teams below them is a little bit more dire. We know Norwich are already gone. They've been eliminated. Aston Villa and Bournemouth, they each picked up a victory a week ago, but then they dropped points again. We saw today Bournemouth losing to Southampton.
Bournemouth has only 1 game left. They're 3 points behind Watford.
Right.
And with a worse goal difference.
But-
I don't see it.
Well, you got to look at the schedule, Russell. Watford are playing Man City this week. While we may not know who all is going to show up for them, they're still miles ahead of talent-wise with whoever they put out.
Sure
and in the
enough.
final game, Watford will be playing Arsenal, who we've seen improve over the past couple of weeks.
So Watford may not
Right,
may not
they
get
have
more
the
points.
tougher schedule, but obviously the point difference and the goal difference, Bournemouth have really struggled with that. And Aston Villa obviously are currently below Bournemouth in that respect as well. But obviously they have a game, I believe, at hand to play.
But the
coming
game,
up,
the
so-
game coming up is against Arsenal.
Correct.
It's at home, but
So, in my opinion, I'm not pronouncing guaranteed yet. West Ham looked really good for staying up. I feel, and then it's 3 teams right now competing for 2 spots: Watford, Aston Villa, and Bournemouth. 2 of those teams will go down, and 1 will survive. So,
I mean, 90% chance it's Bournemouth and Aston Villa.
correct.
Right. But we've all seen, especially whenever you start doing the goal
Prognosticating.
difference. Well,
Yeah,
you put
goal difference,
goal
yeah.
difference in the equation. You met what always reminds me of, I guess it was City's first Premier win, when Aguero, I believe it was, scored a goal in like the 92nd minute
Oh my
for
goodness.
City to win the game
Man, you thought
and
they
give
had the
them.
trophy in hand.
They were
Yeah.
celebrating because they finished early.
Well,
and
earlier.
The
Yeah.
goal differential made it, which
Yep.
to me is so incredibly cool.
That was
Because
that was very
everything matters all the time.
Correct. It adds a different element to it. That it's just not
Yeah.
based on results. It's how well you do with those results. And again, I think an interesting note: last game of the season, all 3 of those teams are on the road. So again, how does that dynamic play out? When we've seen obviously good road results, but I mean, for the most part, home teams have been doing pretty good since we've come back from the pandemic. But the positive I was referring to is as one team goes down, one team comes up. And we talked about the fact that Leeds
Live
have
as
clinched
Leeds.
a spot
Leeds
next
United.
year in the Premier League, first time in 16 years.
And they were
Then they'll be
good.
coming up.
Well, they won today away at Derby County.
But I mean, they were good
1-3.
Right.
back in the day.
They-
They were
Huge
in the
history.
70s and 80s. Absolutely,
Yeah.
they're a huge club.
Yeah,
A
huge
massive club.
And Leeds is where? In the middle of the country?
Midlands.
Midlands.
Yeah.
Midlands.
Yep.
My thing about
Well,
Leeds
Eastern.
is obviously it's the Live at Leeds album by The Who. It's one of my favorite albums of all time.
But as you said, tremendous history. Their coach is an eccentric, which is, again, you always like to have the personalities come up.
Ding, ding,
to the
ding,
Premier
ding.
League.
Tottenham Hotspur 2, Leicester City 0 in the 37th minute.
Never thought I'd find myself rooting for Spurs.
Say
so
that
hard.
again?
Tottenham Hotspur 2, Leicester City 0.
Oh, nil.
Yeah,
Awesome.
huge
Yeah,
result for you.
Josh and I, Josh is a Chelsea fan. I can't get away from being a Manchester United fan. And we're both rooting for Leicester City to lose.
Exactly. It's a funny dynamic here at the end of the season. But now, Leeds coming up, and then the results over the weekend. West Brom had lost, only to follow it up by a Brentford loss. So West Brom are still second in the table, which is also a guaranteed promotion
By
spot.
1 point.
By 1 point.
With 1 game to go.
Correct. But the other teams, Russell can correct me here in a second, are Brentford, Fulham, Nottingham Forest, and Cardiff City, I believe, who currently hold the playoff spots.
So 2 of those...
Say that again?
Let's go through this.
Okay.
West Brom have 82 points. They're in second place. The first 2 teams go up automatically.
Right.
The next 4 teams play off.
Which is
So you got
Fun.
West Brom on 82, you got Brentford on 81, you got
Brentford.
Fulham on 80. I mean,
Fulham.
that second
Yeah.
spot is not sealed. Any one of 3
Right.
teams could win that.
and how many games are there already in?
One game
One
left.
game left.
One game left. And
Because they
then,
play more games than the Premier
but
League.
because it's 23 teams.
Yeah. Okay,
24
smarty
teams, sorry.
pants,
So they play
Mr.
40,
Math guy.
yeah, so they play 46. And then Nottingham Forest is currently playing, and they're 0-0 right now. So they're live table. They're on 71 points. Cardiff City is on 70 points, having already played their game.
So I think then the takeaway is it's a good mixture of teams that have recently been up. You've got teams like West Brom, Fulham, and Cardiff City. It's been a few years maybe. for
Teams
West
that
Brom.
come up and go right down.
Right. One more thing I should say. Swansea City's in 7th place. They're on 67 points. If they
Oh.
win next week and Cardiff City lose, then it looks probably like on goal difference Swansea would be the one in the
And those are
6th
two
spot.
teams that hate each other.
Absolutely.
And another team that was recently up, but also some new blood like Nottingham Forest. It's been a while since they've been up. Brentford for sure. So I mean,
interesting playoff situation.
Exactly, something to look forward to
Yeah.
as teams are going
Okay,
down. The
wrap it
Padres
up,
will come
Josh, because I want to get to the Champions
I
League.
wrapped up.
Oh, you're done.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right, Ed, hit it.
Play some
I could wrap up, but also that probably wouldn't be that great.
Oh, there you go. Now we're going to
That's
talk
it.
about Champions
Champions League sponsored by.
Oh, wait a
sponsored by. Get the camera not on me. No,
Why
go
not?
that way.
On the sponsor.
The
That
sponsors over there.
We've had them. I'm sick
Oh my
of them.
goodness, I've got a score update.
How could you ever get
Sick of them.
of those guys?
2 goals in the last 6 minutes. It's Parliament at 2, Sampdoria 0.
Wow, I was really waiting
I was
for that
worried
one.
about
I knew you
that.
were.
I wasn't sleeping.
I need to stop worrying. I'll tell you
On the
something.
edge of your seat.
This happened to me this week. I was so excited because Josh told me that it was guaranteed.
Ding, 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 ding. It's Tottenham Hotspur 0, 3, Leicester City 0.
Woo!
Harry Kane on the score.
Oh, in the spread.
Uh-oh, now how many points did they have? Are they?
They're fighting for the Europa League spot. Maybe they've had a couple wins over the past
They would
week.
be-
They beat Arsenal in the derby, and then they beat Newcastle.
Live table, they're in 6th place.
So
6 points. So, are they completely out of it?
Champions
6
League
points
most
to
likely.
pick up?
Most likely.
Yes.
Okay, well, it's time to talk
I
about
pronounced the
Champions League.
season dead months ago, Tom.
Oh,
Remember?
Remember that?
I do remember. That was pre
I remember
COVID.
Wolves and Sheffield, who were very close behind them, have yet to play.
Okay, we're going to start out the Champions League thing
Yes.
with how upset I am with
Your
Josh
favorite team?
last week.
This segment, excuse me, brought to you by NGK Law Firm.
NGK Law
Just wanna
Firm.
get that
Yeah,
in.
that's why
They
I
are
feel
an
so-
underwriter.
Right. They write under
bring
lots of stuff.
They bring the big bucks.
So I got all excited about Manchester United. Oh my God, I get to watch them. When was it? Monday against Southampton?
Yeah.
And I was so disturbed that they didn't win that game. And again, I think you're right about the teams. I hadn't thought about it in the way. Josh, explain real quick what you said about, because I like this, about the when you take Pogba off, even if he's having a bad game.
Well,
could
yeah,
you-
the mentality shifts. I think that United right now, the way that they're playing, they're back to somewhat. It's not fully, but back to the way of when you look at the team sheet. Fear is struck in the
Right.
heart of opponents.
Right.
You see Fernandes, Rashford, Greenwood, Bruno, Pogba, all these guys. It's like, how much do we have to deal with? But when they start to come off one by one, and it's only a 1-goal lead, I mean, hope begins to spring eternal on the other side. And I think that's what really
And
led
when
to it.
one of the subs you brought on as a defensive specialist
Right.
gets knocked out and you're down to 10 men. I mean, I wonder how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer feels when he sees the team score in the 99th minute. You know, for him, he's
Right.
probably,
I did it, so
I
why can't
did
they?
it. Yeah, why not?
Right.
Why not? All right, let's start talking about the Champions
So
League.
we have to start with the decision we teased on Sunday that came also on Monday, which was probably what made Monday worse for United fans.
was really
the fact
horrible.
that City's appeal was heard, and it was really heard because not only did the Champions League ban of 2 years get reduced to 0, their fine got reduced from, I believe it was 30 million down to 10 million.
You know,
Euros.
you know what they did is they wanted to be heard,
Right.
so they took all the money and put it into coins.
Yeah.
And put it into a big jar and shook it in front of FIFA, and then they couldn't do that. What can they do? They're
I mean,
hopeless.
The explanation, I mean, is very long-winded. Basically saying they didn't think the crimes that they were charged with were
Some
crimes.
of it was legalistic language about
Right.
how procedure wasn't followed, blah, blah, blah.
I thought
Come on.
the giveaway was when William Barr
Oh,
pointed
that's
to the
that-
thing.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. So basically, it was a mistrial, is what they're.
Yeah.
what they're
Basically, it was a
saying.
mistrial
Yeah,
for
sure.
this,
And that's-
so you just didn't bring the evidence the right way.
Yeah.
You didn't dot your I's, cross your T's.
It-
I mean, come on.
It's ridiculous. I mean, again, to add insult to injury, 10 million euros to them is like
Yeah.
what, $1? Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not even money.
It's
It's
a
an
quarter
insult.
of a player,
So-
of an average player for them.
Yeah.
so.
It's a big can of coins.
Right.
That's what it is.
So obviously, that's what we were talking about, referring to it. Now there's not so many Champions League spots. We're back to
Okay, but
the
let's-
reality.
original four.
Let's remember, Man United have
Still-
another path,
Yeah, in the Euro.
and they have to be the favourites in that competition. If you look at
Right.
the opposition, who's left in that competition.
Right. I was going to say, the decision is for next year. What happens for this year, obviously, is what I was referring to last week, that I didn't get a chance to talk about, was that the draw would happen. And that we know the path fully of how we're going to get from the rest of the round of 16 to the final. So again, we still have some round of 16 matches to be played. That will be early August here, where those matches will be played at the home stadiums. So just for example, Real Madrid, Man City will be played at Man City for the second leg. So those matches will happen, and then the teams will move to
So
Lisbon.
the teams now. This is something to consider, because for European teams, a trip from who'd you just say?
So Real Madrid
Madrid.
will have to travel to Man City.
Okay, from Madrid to Manchester
Yep.
is a big trip for those guys. Remember who was a guy, the famous player, I believe, for Arsenal, who wouldn't fly to games? He drove to all the games because of his fear. Maybe it was Dennis Bergkamp.
Could have been.
Could have been. Wouldn't get on.
Well,
Well,
I mean-
some guy wouldn't get on a plane, so he had to drive or take trains to all these riches. Oh,
Under
Well,
normal
you can't do
circumstances,
that now.
now you have a pandemic, which is how this really arose in soccer in the first place. Was a team traveling to a certain team
Right.
and infecting so many people.
well, in
So-
our game.
Right. The protocols are going to have to be, jacked up for this. So the
It's
draw
good.
happened. So what will happen is, and obviously we still have to have the round of 16 game. So I said Real Madrid or Man City, and right now the City lead 2-1 on aggregate and on away
And
goals.
away
really.
goals, 2 away goals.
They will face the winner of the Lyon-Juventus tie, with Lyon right now winning 1-0, but the match will be played at Juventus, so it'll be a tough test. Then you've got the winner of Napoli versus Barcelona, which is tied right now 1-1, second leg in Barcelona, versus, I guess, the winner of Chelsea versus Bayern Munich, which I'm pretty sure has been decided, but I mean, I've seen stranger things, because Munich right now have a 3-0 aggregate and away goals lead over Chelsea, who are obviously preoccupied about finishing for next year's Champions League. So I think it's safe to say it'll be Bayern Munich versus whoever. And then the two ties that have been decided already, we're going to have RB Leipzig versus Atletico Madrid. Remember, Leipzig won't have Timo Werner because he's decided to join Chelsea early.
And so he's not going to play.
So he's not
Wow.
playing for Leipzig. And then
Wow.
you've got Atalanta versus
Insult to injury.
Right. And then you've got Atalanta versus PSG, who have had months off along with Lyon because
That's right.
the French league canceled the rest
I
of
got
their
to think
season.
that's a disadvantage.
I think so too. And the way, if you've watched Atalanta over the past few weeks, the way they've been pumping in goals, they're close to like 100 goals in Serie A. PSG are going to be in for a really tough matchup on top of the fact they've been out for months. And obviously, they're getting into some exhibitions right now with some teams and having some practice games. But man, it's going to be an entirely different storm that they're going to have. It's not even a league game they're coming back to. It's a Champions League game.
You know something? I heard one of the
back to.
players talking about, coming back during this thing, and again, I've heard football players, basketball players talk about it. Now with the soccer players, that you can do all the training you want, but when that whistle blows, the speed at which things happen is
In a competitive match.
Right.
in a competitive match.
Yeah.
And the best players play as if the speed is slow motion.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
To them, it's slow mo.
And that's what I saw in these NWSL matches I've been watching. The finishing is not
Right.
sharp. Let me ask you this question: in the Champions League, participants that are left, are there any of the leagues that are still participating that are not playing at all because of the pandemic?
So what we have right now, the situation is PSG and Lyon have been off for months because the French league canceled. The Bundesliga finished.
It's
Bayern,
ended, yeah.
right. Bayern Munich have been off for a couple
2
of
weeks.
weeks now,
Yeah.
and we'll have to get back up to game 3. Now, obviously, they have a much better advantage going
Right.
into their first match back, but still, they'll have to get back into the swing of things. And then, obviously, right now, La Liga, Serie A, and the Premier League are in the last couple of weeks. So
The next weekend will be the last round of matches, right?
but obviously, the two-sided coin to that is little rest, but also they're in game shape. They're ready to go. So
Yeah.
we'll just have to see. So it will be something to look out for is to how do those teams that have either had months or weeks off fare in their return fixtures versus the teams that will have very little to no break, but who are in game shape and are going to be ready to go. Obviously, the advantage is these round of 16 matches that we have. So, for example, City have a 2-1 lead on goals and on away goals. It'll help in these certain situations to have an advantage. But obviously, if you're already through and you don't have that
So
advantage,
some of
it'll
the
be tough.
fixtures are mid. They played
Yeah,
one match.
they played one
In the
league
middle of
without
the
the second league. Now,
Yeah.
the important thing also to say, from the quarterfinals on, they will be one leg.
One leg.
It'll
One
be a
leg.
World Cup style thing.
Knockout.
Yeah,
I
so
want to make a score correction before we go on to the next segment, which is that second goal that Parma scored was wiped off. So it's 1-0 currently in the 35th minute, Parma against Sampdoria.
That it?
Whole
All right,
department.
Josh. Let's take a few more minutes to wrap up the Champions League.
Right, so it'll come back early August now. The broadcasting rights situation is in flux because of the whole TNT situation. They are out, essentially, or I don't know if it'll be, if they're required to finish up this tournament or if they're going to CBS early. CBS had bought the rights to the Champions League for next season.
Right.
So either they're going to go to it early here or TNT will finish it out. I haven't really heard much update on that yet.
TNT potentially out because of NBA, or?
No,
Yes.
they're out.
Yes, because because there will be afternoon NBA games.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much.
Well, and they're gonna. Yeah.
And obviously CBS had the rights next year anyway.
That's
so
their bread and butter.
right
Yeah.
now, my fear is going to be for people at home, and we're going to run into the same situation with TNT. Is there's just not going to be enough games on mainstream cable or for mainstream. You're going to have to go through full access or CBS Sports Extra and all these other things to get some of these matches when they should be,
Should be available
on big networks.
Yeah.
I'm hoping CBS plays a lot of them. They should. They got nothing else to do. But it's something to look out for.
Hey, why do you hate bags? Why do you hate Jacksonville Bryce?
Nice little summer activity, but
I hear you.
I think the point, actually, on some NWSL stations is if ESPN had to, or why can't you put some more, not NWSL, MLS,
You're
why
preaching.
can't you put more MLS games on instead of this?
You're,
Obviously,
you're preaching to the choir.
Correct.
What? So you're saying we don't know
I'm not
after the we know that the first the finish up matches are the
Champions League,
the
like early
group
August,
stage.
August 7th and stuff.
But do we know they're going to be on
I mean, I haven't really,
TBS?
I haven't
would
really paid
assume.
attention.
I'm
Right.
assuming they're. Although I haven't really seen any ads on.
Right,
TBS.
it'd be on TNT. And yeah, I don't know what the situation is with the NBA coming back here at the end of the month, what it's going to look like. So, again, it's all really, I have to go dig deeper into it. I don't want to say something and not be right. So, but that's been I mean, I know for sure next
Stay
year.
tuned. Next week we'll have the skin.
Yeah,
there you
we'll
go.
have the skinny. Okay, is that it?
Yep.
Okay, Ed,
What?
pick up your guitar,
Yes.
please.
Yeah.
Papa, I'm not that much older than you.
No, you're not.
Who's this segment brought to us by?
Well, that segment was brought to us by NGK. The last segment here we're finishing up is brought to us by one of our legendary supporters and a legend in St. Louis and the surrounding area, Pasta House.
I love the pasta.
Yeah.
By pasta.
We had a meal from their Pronto facility not too long
Love
ago.
Pronto.
Pronto is going to expand to be a full service restaurant.
Oh, is it
I learned.
really?
Yes, I did.
That's good news.
That's very
That's Roger. Okay, so we're brought to you by the Pasta House. We're going to wrap up. So, wrap up for me. What do you got to say, Ed?
good.
Anything?
Well, I'm looking forward to the rest of the day. I'm going to have my grandkids around, which is always a treat. I'm looking forward to breaking this weather, and life continues to me to be surprisingly delicious. I have never had such a run of great luck and just everything going my way than I have the last.
So you're benefiting from this whole COVID thing? Is that what you're saying?
In spite
Profiteer?
of I am saying that in spite. No, I'm not.
I love this. Looking at him on TV and
In
talking to him.
spite of everything that's going on, life can still be sweet. So you sometimes have to just kind of look close to home, and you'll find a lot of treasures.
Okay, and remember, folks,
You heard it here.
he sounds better,
sound better
on
on
vinyl.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Ted.
The company I worked for did a little downsizing this week. I was not affected, but a guy that I've worked with for the last 15 to 18 years, off and on, a guy named Danny Graham, great guy, father, grandfather. He was about 6 months from celebrating his 50th anniversary with the company.
Jeez.
Wow.
Pretty much came to the company right out of high school, and he served in a
50 years.
variety of positions and duties, and he's the kind of guy that makes our company go. And he was relied upon for a lot of things. He'll be missed. Again, just want to count my blessings. Like Edmundo, there's a lot of people that have been affected socially, economically during this tough time in our nation and our world's history. I'm really feeling fortunate and blessed that I haven't been one of them. And there'll be more work to do with him gone, but we're all going to pick up and do our part.
Ted, I got a comment about that because we've gone through a downsizing, which is one of the reasons why I'm here. What happens in those downsizing with people like that, and there was a woman that I worked with for many years named Tanya Pegram, who did her job so well that you didn't even, it barely seemed to break a sweat. You and I both know, I mean, everybody does. Those people carry around so much what we usually call just corporate knowledge, stuff that you need to oil the bearings to make the machinery run that's not written down anywhere. Within the first week, somebody's going to ask the question, how do we do this? And the answer is going to be, I don't know, because what's your friend's name?
Danny.
Because Danny always took care of it.
Banders.
Are you picking the phone up?
Danny
help us
kept
out.
our banders repaired and cleaned.
Nobody's going to know how to do that.
And he liked to do it.
Okay, Josh.
Two quick things. Again, great win by St. Louis FC last night. They will be back in action next Sunday, a week from today, at home for the first time during this pandemic. I'll be interested to see how that all goes. We should be able to have a guest on the morning of, which is kind of cool that we have game day and we'll have the morning show. We should be able to have a guest on to help hype the matchup. And then real quickly, I want to celebrate the life of Congressman John Lewis.
Amen.
I don't like getting political, but I don't think celebrating someone's life should
Great
be.
American.
He's a great American. He gave a lot for this country and for, again, the common people. So I think, again, his life should be celebrated and his achievements as well.
Absolutely sad loss. So as a score update, it now is 2-0 to Parma against Sampdoria, 41st minute. And it's half-time, Tottenham Hotspur 3, Leicester City 0. And I'm just looking forward to seeing if we're going to get a handle on the situation in our country right now, when that's going to happen. We're heading in the wrong direction still. So put your masks on, guys. It's not that hard.
We're going in the wrong direction. The
If you
theme
don't
of
have
today's
one-
show.
If you don't have one, ask somebody if they have one.
The theme
They'll
of this.
probably give you 3.
The theme of this show was, I saw the data and it changed my mind. Come on, folks, it can't be this hard. We were in a pretty good spot before, and it doesn't look like we are. But really not our concern that we can fix until November.
Just stay safe and protect your loved ones and continue to do what you can.
And I'm going to go down here to this button, Ted, and I'm going to say, bye-bye. No, I think